You are in a crowded room, and everyone is talking at once. Music, laughter, a dozen conversations crashing into each other like waves. You are locked into the one person in front of you, nodding along, following their every word. The rest is just noise, a wall of sound you have somehow switched off. And then, from across the room, someone says your name. You hear it instantly. You do not know how. You were not listening to that conversation. You could not have told me a single word those people were saying a second ago. But your name cut through the noise like a knife through water, and your head turned before you even decided to turn it. How did you hear something you were not listening to? This is one of the oldest puzzles in the science of the mind, and it has a name. Scientists call it the cocktail party problem. And the answer reveals something unsettling about the version of reality you think you are experiencing right now. Let us start with what should be impossible. Your ears are not like a microphone. A microphone captures everything in the room and dumps it into one flat recording, every voice equally loud, an unusable mess. Your experience is nothing like that. You hear one clear voice and a soft blur of everything else. Somewhere between the sound hitting your eardrum and the moment you understand a word, your brain has performed an act of ruthless editing. It has chosen one signal to promote and shoved the rest into the background. The man who first took this seriously was a British scientist named Colin Cherry. In the early 1950s, he was not a psychologist at all. He worked on electronic communication, on the problem of how a machine could pick one radio signal out of many. But he became fascinated by the fact that humans do it effortlessly, all the time, with no dials and no wires. So in 1953, he designed an experiment to find out how. He gave people headphones. Into one ear, he played one spoken message. Into the other ear, at the same time, he played a completely different message in the same voice. Then he asked them to repeat one of the messages out loud as they listened, word for word, shadowing it in real time. This forced their attention onto a single ear, and here is what he discovered. People were astonishingly good at following the one message. They could shadow it almost perfectly. But when Cherry asked what had been playing in the other ear, they had almost nothing. They could not say what it was about. They did not notice when it switched from English to German. One time he even played the message backwards, and most people never realized. They knew a human voice had been there. They knew if it changed from a man to a woman, but the meaning, the actual words, had passed straight through them and vanished. Think about what that means. It traveled to your brain, and your brain decided it was not important enough to let you consciously hear. You were deaf to it, not because it was quiet, but because you were not aiming at it. So attention is a filter. That was the first great idea. A young psychologist named Broadbent took Cherry's findings and built them into a theory in 1958. He pictured the mind like a bottleneck. Imagine all the sounds of the room rushing toward a narrow gate, and standing at that gate, a filter that lets only one channel through at a time. Everything else is blocked before it ever reaches your awareness. In Broadbent's model, the unattended messages were stopped at the door, cut off, never processed for meaning. It was clean, it was elegant, and it was about to run into a single word that broke it. Because if the filter truly blocks everything you are not listening to, then you should never hear your own name across a room. It is in the blocked channel. It is on the other side of the gate. By the theory, it should be one more piece of noise you never notice, but you do notice, every time. A researcher named Neville Moray decided to test this directly in 1959. He ran Cherry's shadowing experiment again, people repeating one message, ignoring the other. But this time, into the ignored ear, he sometimes slipped in the listener's own name. Suddenly, the picture changed. Roughly a third of people heard their name in the ear they were supposed to be ignoring. It broke through. The gate that blocked German, that blocked reverse speech, that blocked everything, swung open for one word that mattered. That one result changed everything. It fell to another scientist to explain how. A few years later, a young psychologist named Anne Treisman looked at the broken theory and fixed it with one small, brilliant change. The filter, she argued, is not a wall that blocks. It is a dial that turns things down. The sounds you are ignoring are not cut off at the gate. They are quieted, attenuated, faded into the background like a radio turned almost to silence. Almost. Because a few words are so important to you that even at that whisper-low volume, they are still loud enough to trigger recognition. Your name is one of them. It has such a low bar to set off the alarm that it gets through even when it has been turned down to nearly nothing. That is the model that survived. Not a wall, but a volume knob, with a handful of words wired to break through no matter how low it goes. Because it means the filter is not a simple wall. If your name in the ignored ear can grab you, then some part of your mind must have been listening to that ear all along. Something back there was quietly checking every word, understanding it, deciding whether it mattered, and only ringing the alarm when it found something important. The blocked channel was never truly blocked. It was being read in the dark, by a part of you that you have no access to. Sit with that for a moment. Right now, as you listen to this, the conversations you are ignoring are not gone. They are being scanned. A silent watchman in your brain is processing sounds you will never consciously hear, judging them, filtering them, and throwing almost all of them away before they ever reach the you that is paying attention. Later researchers refined exactly how this works. In 1995, the psychologists Nelson Cowan and Noel Wood looked closer at that name effect, and the pattern held. Your own name is special. It is one of the most overlearned sounds in your entire life. Heard from the moment you were born, tied to survival and belonging and danger, running underneath everything, all day, whether you want it to or not. And it is not only your name. It is the sound of your baby crying in a room full of children. It is someone saying the name of the town you grew up in. It is a snatch of a song from a summer you have not thought about in years. Your unconscious mind is running a search, constantly, for anything that matches the things you care about. Most of the time it finds nothing and stays silent. But it is always looking. Why would a brain be built this way? Because for your ancestors, the wrong sound at the wrong moment meant death. A snapped twig behind the group, a cry of warning across the fire, a name called out in alarm. The ones who could hear the single signal that mattered through all the noise lived to have children. The ones who could not, did not. You are the descendant of the best listeners who ever lived, and the silent watchman in your head is the reason you are here at all. There is a darker side to this too. That silent search takes effort, and it is one of the first things to weaken as you get older. If you have ever watched an older relative struggle in a busy restaurant, hearing fine one-on-one, but lost the moment the room fills up, you have watched the cocktail party filter begin to fade. It is rarely the ears alone. It is the brain's ability to turn down the wrong voices that slips. Engineers have spent decades trying to build a machine that can do what you do without thinking. Pull one speaker out of a crowd, and it remains one of the hardest problems in audio science. The most advanced hearing aids and voice assistants on Earth are still chasing a trick your brain performs at a party without you even noticing it is working. So what is really happening in that crowded room? You feel like you are simply hearing the person in front of you. Clear voice, quiet background, one reality. But that clean experience is a construction. Your brain is taking in the entire wall of sound. Every voice, every clink of glass, splitting it apart, analyzing it, and then deciding moment by moment what you are allowed to notice. The single voice you hear is not the room. It is the tiny slice of the room your attention has chosen to build into your awareness. Everything else is still there. You are just not permitted to experience it. And this goes far beyond parties. Every waking second, your senses are flooded with millions of signals. The feeling of your clothes on your skin, the hum of a fridge, the pressure of the floor against your feet, the edges of your own nose sitting in your vision right now. All of it, real, all of it arriving, and almost all of it filtered out before it reaches you, so that you can hold on to the one or two things that matter. Attention is not how you notice the world. Attention is how you survive it. It is the gatekeeper that decides which fraction of reality becomes your life. Colin Cherry thought he was solving an engineering problem. How do you pick one voice out of many? He ended up uncovering something stranger. That the mind you call yourself is not the audience for everything happening inside your head. It is only the final room, the one that gets the edited version, after a hidden crew has already thrown most of the footage away. So the next time you are standing in a loud room, locked onto a single face, feeling like the noise around you is just noise, remember what is really going on. A silent part of your mind is listening to all of it, reading every conversation you think you are ignoring, waiting, patiently, for one sound worth interrupting you for. You are in a crowded room, and everyone is talking at once. And somehow, without trying, you are hearing every single one of them.